During the second half of the game, my phone starts to die, so I text, "What's up y'all, I'm Logan Mill and have I got a story for you." Today I'm going to tell you about the time that I got lost on my own in Chicago after a soccer game. So I'm going to try to keep the background of the story short, but I do have to explain some things. At the time, I was dating a guy who was from Mexico, so he was really into soccer. As I had always played soccer when I was younger, I never really watched a lot of soccer. But because of him, and because of my sister-in-law who's from Argentina, I got really into watching soccer. So it turned out that the Copa Mundial was coming into Chicago, which is relatively close to where I live. So of course my boyfriend and his family got really excited and they all wanted to go to the games that were in Chicago. So they decided to buy tickets to the 4 games that were happening in Chicago. And one of those games was actually an Argentina game, and that's what I got so excited about because my sister-in-law is from Argentina, so I got really into Argentina soccer, especially of course Lionel Messi, so I really wanted to go to that game in Chicago. So my boyfriend and his family said that I could go with them, so I bought my own set of tickets to the Chicago games. Now it turns out, a few weeks after we all bought tickets, my boyfriend actually had to go back to Mexico because of a family emergency, so he couldn't go to the games anymore. His family was still going, but I had bought tickets that were a little bit away from his family, like I was in the row right behind them, a little to their left. So now that he wasn't going, I was going to be at the game basically alone. But then I found out that my brother and his wife, the one from Argentina, decided to go to the Argentina game. So I decided not to go to the other 3 Chicago games and to just go to the Argentina game so that I could be with my brother and sister-in-law. So it comes to be the day of the Argentina game, and me and my brother and my sister-in-law all go to Chicago together, and we spend the whole day in Chicago. We actually found out where the Argentina team was staying, what hotel they were in. So we and a ton of other people were in a big crowd outside of the hotel for hours on end, waiting for the team to come out so we could get a picture of Lionel Messi and of the rest of the team. So we stayed in this area basically the whole day. We went over to eat at a place right across the street from the hotel, and then we'd go back to the crowd and wait. Finally the team came out and we saw all of the players and the coaches, and we didn't really get to see Messi because the team kind of went around him as he came out so that people couldn't like mob him or do anything crazy. We didn't really get a clear shot of Lionel Messi, but it was still worth it to wait outside. A little while after that, we all jump in a cab and we go to the game. Now again, we have separate seats, so they weren't sitting near me. They were actually sitting in a completely different section, but it was on the same half of the stadium, luckily. So the game starts, and it's amazing. I've never been in a professional soccer stadium before. I've never seen a professional soccer game before. So it was an incredible experience. We got to see the team warm up, we got to see Messi on the field, and the crowd was crazy. Everyone was so excited. It was Argentina versus Panama. So the whole stadium was filled with a bunch of awesome soccer fans from South America and from the States, and everyone was so excited to see Messi. Even the Panama fans were so excited to see Messi on the field. So the game starts, and for the first half, Messi doesn't play, and everyone's just chanting for him like we all want to see Messi play, and the game is amazing. But it gets to the second half, and we see Messi start to warm up on the sideline, and we all just start screaming. I mean, the crowd is going crazy. So Messi gets in the second half, and he scored not 1, not 2, but 3 goals. I got to see Lionel Messi score 3 goals on the Argentina team in Chicago. But during the game, because we had been out in Chicago all day long, my phone hadn't been charged at all. I didn't have a mobile charger, which was really stupid of me, but I didn't think about it at the time. So during the second half of the game, my phone starts to die. So I text my brother and tell him that my phone's gonna die and that we need to make sure we know where to meet after the game. He tells me to meet him right down the stairs from his section. And I thought I knew where he was talking about. So I said okay, and that was that, and my phone died shortly after. So the game ends, Argentina won. It was incredible. I got to see Messi play. The crowd was insane, and so it's time to leave. And I kind of go down the stairs pretty fast because I don't want to miss my brother, and I'm kind of panicky about this because in social situations when I'm alone and I'm in a big crowd, I get pretty anxious. So I go down the stairs and I'm waiting there for my brother, and I'm standing there for a long time. I don't see him coming. The stadium starts to clear out. I still don't see him. So I kind of walked back into the stadium to see if I could see him up above me or something like that, and I couldn't see him anywhere. I go back out, and I'm standing at the stairs, still looking, and I don't see him anywhere, and I'm starting to panic. Now there's hardly anyone left in the hallway, and I knew that he was close to me, so it shouldn't be taking him this long to get to me. And I start to kind of walk towards where I thought he was. So I start walking, and I still don't see him. I don't see him anywhere. So I go over to the security people, and I ask to use their phones. And one of them says they don't have their cell phone, they're not allowed to have it. And then another person says, here, you can use mine. And they kind of turn to their manager and ask, like, can she use my phone real quick? And they're like, yeah. So I take this girl's cell phone, I call my brother, and he doesn't pick up. Now I'm starting to really freak out because I don't know what to do. So I call him one more time on that same girl's phone. He still doesn't pick up. So I start to walk outside because I'm thinking maybe he'll be outside waiting for me. So I walk out the doors and I kind of stand around looking for him, and I still don't see him anywhere. And now my heart is racing. I'm freaking out. So I go further down the stairs and I find another security guy, and I ask him if I can use his phone. So again, I call my brother off of a second phone, and he still doesn't answer. I call him like 3 more times off of this security guy's phone, and he doesn't answer me. And the security guy asked me how old I am because I look really young, so he thinks I'm kind of a lost child, so he's kind of freaking out too. And I say, no, I'm 18. And then he's like, oh, well, why don't you just go back to your hotel? And I said, well, I don't know how to get there. I don't have any cash for a cab or anything like that. And for some reason, I couldn't use Uber. I don't know if I didn't have Uber at the time or why I didn't use Uber, but I don't know. So anyway, I thought that I couldn't get a cab because I didn't have cash, but the guy informs me, he's like, no, they'll take credit card. Almost every cab has credit card now. So that kind of makes me calm down. I'm like, okay, but I'm worried that if I leave, he'll freak out and still be here, and I just didn't know what to do. And the guy was like, no, it's fine. Like, if anyone comes looking for you, I'll tell them that you went back to the hotel. No big deal. Just walk down this street where everyone's going and go catch a cab. So I'm just like, fine, like, I don't know what else to do. I start walking towards where he told me to walk. I'm walking with this huge crowd. Everyone's going the same way. And so we finally get out to a street, and I'm standing there waiting for a cab, and I don't see any cabs anywhere. And so I just kind of keep walking. I keep walking until I finally get to a street where I see a lot of taxis. So I finally hail a taxi. I ask him if he takes credit cards, and he says yes. So I get in the cab. Mind you, this is my first time ever being in a taxi alone. I've been in plenty of taxis in my life, but not alone, because I get a little anxious when I'm alone, especially when my phone is dead. And it didn't occur to me to ask the guy if he had a car charger. Again, I made a lot of stupid mistakes. But anyway, I'm in the cab, and I luckily remembered what hotel we were at and what the address was. So I tell him the address of the hotel. But because of the game, there was so much traffic going on that he couldn't really go the easy way to get to the hotel. So he had to go around this big way, and we're kind of dodging the traffic, kind of going in a totally roundabout way. But we finally, after what seemed like, I don't know, 40 minutes, like it was a really long cab ride, we finally get to my hotel. I pay the guy, and I go into my hotel, and I go to the front desk, and I say, are my brother and sister-in-law here? I got lost, and they don't know where I am. So they say, oh, you're the girl. They've been looking for you. They called here and made sure that we would tell them if you arrived, so here, like, you can call them. So I take the hotel phone, and I call my brother's phone, and he still doesn't answer. So I'm telling you, I'm like, what is going on? Does his phone die? What is happening? But then a few minutes later, my brother called the hotel, and they answer, and they say, yeah, she's here. She's safe. And so finally, after 20 more minutes, my brother and sister-in-law come into the hotel, and they're like, what happened? Like, where were you? And I was like, I got lost. Like, I didn't know where you guys were. But my brother seems exhausted, and he's not really talking. And I was exhausted too, because I had just had the worst adventure of my life. Being lost in Chicago by myself with no phone was completely terrifying. We go up to the hotel room, and we're all just getting ready for bed. But then finally my brother says, why didn't you call me off of someone else's phone? And I'm immediately enraged because I had called him a million times off of people's phones, multiple different phones, and he didn't answer. So I said, I did call you, and he's acting like, oh, no, you didn't. I would have answered. My phone never died. And I'm so furious that he's saying this to me because I called him. Like, I thought I did as much as I possibly could to get in touch with him. But obviously, either the stadium was probably too crowded for him to get service, or the city has bad service because it's a big city. I don't know what happened, but we couldn't get a hold of each other. It was just the worst night ever, which sucked because the game was so amazing and such an amazing experience that I always want to remember it as so great. But because of getting lost afterwards, I honestly don't really like to think about that trip. But the next day, I was actually flying to Gulf Shores, Alabama to have a trip with the rest of my family and friends. So everything was fine the next day, and I got over it. And honestly, I didn't talk about this story for a long time with anyone because it was so bad, and it was honestly embarrassing that I somehow got lost and couldn't talk to my brother. But it ended up fine. I was safe. We all ended up together at the end of the night. But it was a bad time. So a little word of advice, if you're ever going anywhere and you're separated from your group, have a mobile charger for your phone. Don't ever be in a situation where your phone can die and you'll be separated from who you need to be with. Because let me tell you, it's terrible and I would never wish it on anyone. So that's the end of my story. Thanks for watching, guys. If you liked it, make sure to like and subscribe, and I will see you in the next one.